What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Panthers Advice. Today, man, it's Sunday, so we're going to recap everything. Hope everyone's having a happy Sunday, happy Monday if you're watching us on Monday, happy Tuesday, happy Wednesday, so on and so forth. But today, man, I'm going to try and recap you guys on everything that happened under the week. All right, we're going to talk about what happened during the week, but kind of some things that might have got swept under the rug. First thing we're talking about is, once again, all right, Panthers got haters. You got a little website talking about why the Panthers might not finish at the top or even the top half. Let's talk about why real quick. So before they give us the bad, they gave us some good, right? And it says the Panthers did invest in facilitating Young's development in the draft, picking McMillan at 8, right? That gives Carolina a far more well-rounded receiver room, as McMillan gives them the type of vertical ball winner that has been consistently present in Charlotte for years. So far I agree with this article. Now, DJ Moore was a good receiver for the Panthers, right? So let's not get that twisted. He was a good receiver. Now, obviously, McMillan is a completely different receiver than DJ Moore is, right? So the article I agree with so far, right? We haven't had a true X in quite some time. On top of that, the article doesn't even mention getting Jimmy Horn. Now, Jimmy Horn, I got to remember not to set my expectations too high, right? He's still a rookie, okay, coming to the NFL, so it's probably going to take a little bit of time just for him to find his groove and find his rhythm. I don't want to set the expectations high like this, and come week 4, week 5, everyone's like, well, you said Jimmy Horn was going to take off. I'm not saying that. I'm saying he adds something to the Panthers receiving room that we haven't had in a while. Let's keep it going. So now let's talk about the bad, all right? So they basically say, yes, the Panthers got Princely. They got Lathan Ransom. They got Nick Scorton. However, if they get into a shootout, more than likely they're going to lose, right? Also going to say this right here. The Panthers are currently ranked 27th, 4 spots ahead of the rival Saints 31st, but quite a distance from the Bucks, who are 8th, and Falcons, who are 18th. The Falcons 18th to me it's a bit wild because they, if I'm not mistaken, had less sacks than the Panthers did, right? QB still kind of unproven. I mean, they do have good offensive weapons with Drake London, right? And you got, Bijan Robinson. But I don't know that they're – I don't think it's 18th and 27th, to be honest with you, all right? They're projecting the Panthers to win 6 games, probably lose 11. Final thoughts on that article. That was lazy written, if we're being honest, right? If we're keeping it a buck, you only mention the rookies, and if you wanted to mention them as guys who come in when Patrick Jones or DJ Waddle get tired, fine. But you didn't mention Bobby Brown. You didn't mention Trayvon Mulrick. You didn't mention Tershawn Wharton, Christian Roseboom. I mean, come on, man. If you're going to say the Panthers are going to finish 27th? Did that say 27th? Let's take a look real quick. Currently ranked 27th and not include the free agent pickups we had? Come on, man. We got to do better than that. Next up, this one shocked me a little bit. The reason this shocked me is because I didn't know that there was any kind of tension or turmoil between Jadeveon Clowney, all right, and the Panthers front office. He gave a quote right here. Let's take a look at this. So Clowney says he read the writing on the wall, right? And Clowney, 1 season into his 2-year, $20 million contract, all right, he says he went into OTAs day 1, and they kind of told me they weren't expecting me to be there. I got a sense then they wanted me out of the building. All right, Clowney told Pearson. I was just like, y'all could have told me this back when I was coming here during the offseason. I kind of had a sense, though. I've been around the game long enough to know, so I was okay. I'm not going to lie. This shocked me a little bit. To a point, Clowney wasn't producing, right? Let's call it what it is. He produced the second half of the season, but, I mean, Avero had him out there, and I watched him, right? You consistently saw the same thing, right? It's either speed rush or a bull rush. Half the time when he's in that three-point stance, he's not really in it. If that makes sense, like, he's in that three-point stance, but he's not lined up ready to go 100 miles an hour, and I get it, right? At his age, I get it. But I'm sure the coaches saw that, to be honest with you, which is why they took 2 edge rushers, Nick and Princely. Not only that, but we needed edge rushers too. So while this shocked me, Clowney not happy with the Panthers front office, it did and it didn't. Let's keep it going, though. Don't want to spend too much time on that one. Next up, Dave Canales on Panthers return to prime time, and a typical Canales quote, right? We need to become who we want to be. Now, I'll give it to Dave. He stays optimistic. Even when the team wasn't doing great, you saw him get a little frustrated, but he stayed optimistic. Let's see what he says right here. In Dave fashion, I just love the opportunities to be able to play these types of games. There's a couple of extra cameras, and you get to play under the lights, playing against a great opponent, and those are the types of games that we need to become who we are. The Panthers Monday Night Football game against the Niners on November 24th will mark the club's first primetime game since Week 10 of 2023. Because remember, they didn't get one in 2024 because of how bad that season was. All right, 2023, I remember that game. Tyson Bagent started and beat the Panthers. And here's the worst part about that game, if I'm not mistaken. During that game, Bagent consistently, if I'm not mistaken, kept rolling out to his right every single time. The Panthers lost to Tyson Bagent and the Bears. Let that sink in. All right. Tyson Bagent and the Bears. And Bagent just kept rolling out. All right. He kept dumping off to the tight end. I think it was Cole Kmet, if I'm not mistaken. Just consistently just kept dumping it off to him. All right. So they finally get a primetime game. It is against the Niners Monday night, Week 12. If the Panthers are having a pretty good season, this game, it's pretty impactful, to be honest. Basically goes on to say that Bryce Young, all right, that was his first year. He struggled. They fired, Frank Reich. I mean, so on and so forth. This will be the first time that the Panthers play Christian McCaffrey since trading him. I mean, trade DJ Moore to the Bears. You play him on primetime. You trade McCaffrey to the Niners. Now, obviously, that was quite some time ago. It's just kind of funny how, some things go full circle. Well, let's keep it going, though. So Panthers do get a primetime game against the Niners Week 12. New numbers, all right? For one player, free agents, they picked their number. Let's take a look on who picked what number real quick. So Roseboom is wearing 56. Now, who wore 56 last? That was Trevin Wallace. So he's going to be the one player that's not wearing the same number he was wearing last year. Pat Jones is wearing number 91. Nick Thurman wore that, all right, last year. Tershawn Wharton, 92. Last worn by Jonathan Harris in 2024. And who did I miss real quick? And you got Bobby Brown rocking number 97. Hunter Renfrow, all right, number 13. Last worn by Devin Tompkins. I'm not going to lie. I thought Devin Tompkins was going to make the team. I thought that was a speedster that the Panthers needed. It looks like it didn't work out. Next up is Trevin Wallace, number 32. So he went from 56 to 32. That's interesting right there. Lonnie Johnson, no longer on the team. And you got kicker Matthew Wright wearing number 37. Kicker wearing 37. I don't remember the last time a kicker wore the 30s. Interesting right there. Do we have any more? Let's take a look real quick. We do. You got Rico right here wearing number 5. Last worn by Deontay Johnson in 2024. And Trayvon Moehrig rocking the 7. Taking Jadeveon Clowney's number. So that right there is your jersey numbers for free agency and Trevin Wallace too. Let's keep this thing going. So it's funny how some articles, they'll talk about the Panthers. They won't finish on the top half. Then you got some articles like this. Who predicted Panthers to win the NFC South? So the analyst says right here, yes, I have the Panthers in the 4th spot taking home the NFC South title. Few were paying attention at the end of the last year, but Bryce Young put together an 8-game run that completely changed my perspective on him and Coach Canellis. There could be something special brewing in Carolina. Finally, somebody addressing the run that the Panthers went on, right? Because the craziest part about the run was when Bryce Young came back, there was really, it's like, what's going to happen here, right? He comes in, Andy Dalton gets in the car crash, right? It's like a majority of the fan base had given up on him at this point. They wanted him benched. They wanted him traded. Don't put Bryce Young back on that field. He comes back on the field and he does something special, man. The analyst goes on to say right here, it won't take much to win the NFC South. It might simply take an line coach and a quarterback. But on top of that, the Panthers will also have some off-season additions. McMillan, all right, Wharton, Trayvon Moehrig. Carolina is tied for the 5th easiest strength of schedule according to last year's records. Things are lining up. See, this is an article I like right here because it gives you the whole premise, right? If the last article would have mentioned, Panthers, when it comes to strongest side linebacker, we don't know what we're getting out of DJ Wan or Patrick Jones stopping the run. Same thing with Princely or Nick, right? Then our interior linebackers, we'll see what happens with Christian Roseman or Josie Jewell. They would have mentioned that, okay, but they didn't, right? But this article right here, they talk about the offseason additions. They talk about the draft, right? They talk about the 5th easiest strength of schedule, Bryce Young's 8-game run he had. This is what I like to see right here. Let's keep it going. I think we have a couple more things to go over real quick. This right here is actually our last thing we're going over. This should wrap up, all right, our Sunday kind of news cap. Carolina Panthers legend sends blunt message about Jimmy Horn Jr. Panthers legend Thomas Davis sees shades of Tyreek Hill and 6th-round pick Jimmy Horn Jr. And he's not holding back on the hype. All right. The Panthers receiving corp is in transition, and Horn Jr.'s versatility and explosiveness could be exactly what head coach Canales needs to jumpstart the offense. More than anything, Horn's attitude, that joyful, unrelenting energy, is already winning over veterans and coaches alike. That shows you that this guy's a ton to believe that he's the fastest man on the field. Now, I'm curious. Do you guys think Horn's the fastest? If I'm not mistaken, XL measured, what, a 4.3? I would like to see those two race. I'm not... Horn might be the fastest, but I would like to see XL race against him, to be honest. It says right here, Panthers fans take note. Jimmy Horn Jr. might be wearing number 15, but his ceiling is looking like he could be a number 1. Now, he's not going to be a number 1 receiver. He could be a number 1 option, but he's not going to be a number 1 receiver. I hope not, because if he's a number 1, McMillan, with that 8th over... Man, let's keep it going. All right. And TD wraps it up by saying he's smiling, he's excited, and he has the speed, athleticism, and his ability to track the ball in the air is phenomenal. So that right there is going to wrap up kind of our Sunday kind of news cap, right? Kind of catching you guys up on everything that happened. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Stay tuned. More content coming soon. Panthers Advice is out. Peace.